Is it okay, that coffee?
Perfect. Thank you,
Okay.
bro.
Is it really perfect though?
It's amazing. Appreciate it.
Well, it's instant coffee.
It is a very good instant coffee.
I'm happy with instant coffee. I'm not a coffee snob.
Do you know what? So am I. Sometimes you can have a coffee from a Starbucks and you go, really? That's not that good.
100%.
And yet, if you have your favourite instant, you always know just how it's going to be, don't you?
Completely agree. I'm not a coffee snob. Caffeine tastes like coffee. It's hot. It's kind of crazy. People sit and they go, "Oh, this tastes nothing like coffee." Of course it does. I mean, it's not. It tastes pretty close to coffee, so I'm happy with it.
So Andrew, you're arguably the most famous guy on the planet. At one point, you were Googled more than Biden and Putin, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Do you feel you've lost a bit of your freedom now, having to think about where and when you go somewhere and always going around with security guards?
I've certainly lost a lot of my freedom. Yes, everything becomes far more labored. If I go to the mall, you don't just go to the mall. You have to organize the day that you go to the mall, and you have to tell your security team, and they have to plan where the car is going to go and drop off, and they have to be there in advance, and you have to decide which team's going inside with you, which teams. So yeah, you certainly lose a lot of freedom. I'm not complaining. It just takes a lot of organization.
What would you say the single thing was for you to go and grab life by the bollocks and go for it? Because something had to spark that.
I was instilled with a duty for a very long time to honor my ancestors through achievement. And I was told from a very young age that the only thing your ancestors are interested in is achievement. Even to this day, when I do podcasts, people repeatedly talk about my father. If I wasn't successful, he wouldn't be spoken about anymore. He died 9 years ago, and he was a good chess player, but no one's really that interested in chess. The reason he lives on is because I'm so monumentally successful that people are interested in my origin story, and he is mentioned. The reason I will live forever is because my son will be so monumentally successful that they'll talk about how he could have been such a perfect specimen of man, how he was raised, and they will mention me. If you give a shit about your ancestry, and if you give a fuck about your family, and you're not a selfish person, and you want them to exist out in the ether for reality, for the eternity of reality, it is your duty to be succceessful.
That's why I got Dad to start the YouTube channel, because it's kind of commemorating you forever. People can look at that.
Am I on my way?
Not yet. 100 years left, bro.
You've got loads of time left. But yeah, no, it's always there for people to look at. And it's like that version of my dad that I always saw, you know, and I wanted other people to experience that.
Completely. So if you love your family and you love your last name and you're proud of yourself, then you have a duty to be massively, monumentally successful, to show homage to your ancestors. I find it amazing there are people out here today who are going to sit and say, "Oh, I'm sad, I'm too depressed, I don't want to work hard." Do you understand that only 200 years ago, there were peasants out working a field, starving, surviving the Black Death, surviving the plague, struggling to exist just to reproduce, so that 200 years later, you can be the end of their bloodline, for you to sit on your ass and do fucking nothing. You're like, well, you're a fuck up. You're fucking up your entire bloodline of your entire ancestry. You owe these people things. They went through hell for you to exist. You have a debt, you have a duty to pay. You have to be the best possible version of yourself. And the same to God. God loves people who try. God loves people who work hard. It's amazing if you try your very best all the time, what God will give you. He'll give it to you, anything you want, if you actually try. Not convincing yourself you try, actually try. They're different things. But yeah, I was instilled with this because from a young age, my dad said, "You're a Tate. And Tates are the greatest people on the face of the planet. And there's gonna be a day I'm not here anymore, and they're gonna talk about me because of how fantastic you are. So go do your fucking job." And I said, "Yes, sir." And here I am.
If you had a teenage son, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give him to break through the matrix and achieve success in life, whatever that is for him?
I'm actually genuinely worried about my children because I grew up so broke, and they're gonna be so fucking rich.
It is a worry, isn't it?
It's a worry because you're a different man when you have no safety net. You're a different man when you have to pull it off. No, I need to. No, I literally have to pull this off. I have to roll the dice. Most men don't understand what it feels like to roll a dice and you have to get a 6. They go, "What do you mean you have to?" "No, I have to get a 6.
Yeah.
"Oh, but what if you don't?" No, I have to get a 6. You're not understanding me. So that's extremely character building. And for that reason, I'm gonna make sure that my children, another thing that comes with it, I took a bunch of risks that I would never be comfortable with my children taking, because this is the problem. You go soft, right?
Yes.
I was riding around on a motorcycle with no insurance, running from the cops. And I could have been splattered on the road. And I would never want my son to do that. But at the same time, I want him to be like me. So it's difficult. It's hard.
So how much would you say you spend in a year? So let's take 2022. How much do you spend on yourself in 2022?
On myself. That's a good question. But then it gets gray. It gets
I
gray.
know.
What's
but you
for
know,
me? What's
but you
for the
know,
business?
you know what I mean yourself. Like the cars are for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd say I spend £1 million or $1 million a month, and then that probably doesn't include big purchases. So about $1 million a month, but then there's big purchases outside.
No, so we're getting to about 25 mil this year then.
Yeah, something like that.
Get in.
Yeah. I spend a lot of money, but I've explained my life. My life is as crazy as a life can possibly be lived. But
that craziness in your life also then creates money.
Well, exactly, and it's the cycle, and it all feeds back into each other. But I don't ever sit and concern myself with, am I spending too much? If I thought I was spending too much, I would simply find a way to make more money. And a lot of people talk about efficiency as well. I've had people talk about working smart, not hard. That is true, but I believe that you need to fill your day with all of the hard work first. I think that working smart is a matter of being more efficient with all the time you should spend working. If you sit there and go, I want to work smart, not hard, so I work an hour a day, well, then you're still lazy. You should work smart and hard and do 15 smart hours a day. That's how you win. So money for me is a tool, and I get whatever I want. I went shopping in London 2 days ago. I spent, and me and Tristan sat and talked about it, because the coolest thing about being rich is talking about when you were broke. It's the funnest thing. In fact, I'm glad I wasn't born rich, because if I didn't have that, being rich would be boring in many ways. It's only funny because you can talk about the olden days.
100%.
So me and Tristan just spent 350 grand on Christmas presents, right?
Lovely.
Yeah, but you get to the point where money has so little value. Like, we walked in, Tristan saw a pair of Jimmy Choo heels, and he's like, I'll give them to one of his girls or whatever, and he goes, what's her shoe size? I go, I don't know. He goes, what sizes you got? They go, we got 36 to 39. He goes, okay, just give me them. Just give me 11 pairs of the same shoe. Because money, instead of texting her and finding out her shoe size, just give me everything. They locked the front of the store. There's a huge line because me and Tristan are in there. No one else is allowed in. And money for us is a tool to shape the world. And I think that's what a lot of people also don't understand about being rich. You don't want to be rich. You want to be powerful. That's what really is going to satisfy you in your soul. It's the power. It's not the, I can afford this, that. That's nice for a while. But really what makes you happy is there's 60 of these Bugattis on earth. Everyone wants one. Who gets one? I do. Because you can't have one. That's the fun of it, right? So it's power you're truly chasing. And if you want to be powerful, you can't be scared to invest money and spend money.
Do you think it's a good idea to set such high goals, particularly for the average Joe? Yeah. Because what we find is quite often they set these goals and they fall short, and then they, I don't want to say the word feel depressed, but they feel that they're not able to get there.
Yeah. I mean, social media and the world as a whole is now setting unrealistic goals for people, whether they like it or not.
Because it's everyone's airbrush lifestyle. Completely.
It's very hard now to be a man in the world and not have unrealistic expectations. If you're anywhere on the internet, you're seeing a whole bunch of crypto 19-year-olds pushing fucking cars and doing all this shit. So yeah, your expectations are gonna be ridiculously high. So I think people who get demotivated because they don't quite hit where they want to get just need to be more realistic about it. And like I said, you need to get a piece of paper or understand on a scale of 1 to 10 and say, how stressed do I want to be? How much pressure do I want to feel like I'm under? How much can I take? And be honest with yourself. I know I can handle it. I'm a professional. I've had 87 professional world champion fights. I've been there. I've been in the dressing room about to go fight a dude who just killed his last opponent. Like, I understand pressure. Most people don't. So you have to sit and go, how much pressure can I really take? Between 1 and 10. Well, let's say it's a 6 or a 7. Okay, and then you have to work out an income that reflects that, and that should be your goal, and be happy with it. People sit there and go, yeah, I want to be as rich as Tate, I want to be top cheetah. Most of you, the reason you're not here is because you couldn't do it. I could hand my life over to a bunch of people, even as it is completely.
And they couldn't do it.
They couldn't live it. They couldn't live it. They just fucking.
Is that because they want that safety net as well? Do you think that's an aspect that allows you to push to the level you have?
Well, there's equal and opposite forces in the world. Everybody wants to glitz and glamour. Nobody wants equal and opposite force. There's no such thing as, okay, there's a whole bunch of good with the fame. There's a whole bunch of bad with the fame. There's a whole bunch of good with the money. There's a whole bunch of bad with the money. So that's how it goes. I wanted this life. This is exactly what I want. It makes me happy. But there's a whole bunch of people who would not be happy in my position just because of the amount of pressure they're under. In my last cancellation, we had press trying to find my mother, family members doxxed. My last 20 ex-girlfriends called and offered a bribe, effectively 100,000 pounds, to do a negative story on me. None of them turned. Bank accounts frozen, travel bans, all my social media is deleted, all over the news, national news, I'm evil, press releases in the schools saying that I'm bad for young men and I'm misogynistic. Like, most people are not prepared for that level of pressure. I slept fine. Most people would be like, whoa, there are death threats. Like, most people can't handle that. I can handle it fine. Most can't. You have to decide what you want to deal with. So when you're setting your expectations, it shouldn't just be about how much money you want to make. It's truly about how stressed and how much pressure do I want to be under.
Do you believe in clinical depression? Let's have that conversation.
Sure, let's have it. Yeah, no, I do not believe in clinical depression. And you're never going to, I'd love for you to try and convince me it's real. It'll be quite interesting.
Do you think it's an invention of the US pharmaceutical industry to sell you pills?
Well, I think that that's certainly part of it. I think that's part of it. But I've had this conversation with a bunch of people, and my basic premise is that I refuse to believe in things that take power away from me. If you are in a haunted house and you believe in ghosts, you're scared of the haunted house. If you're in a haunted house and you don't believe in ghosts, you're just in a house and you don't care. So I don't like the idea, when someone explains to me the idea of one day waking up and being miserable and not wanting to live anymore, and it's nothing to do with my circumstances and I have no power over it, and no matter how good my life is, I'm still gonna feel terrible and I'm gonna wanna die. That's not an idea I subscribe to. That's not a reality I'm ever going to want.
But that's
for
a
myself.
reactive depression, isn't it? You can be reactive depressed for the day, for example, or
feeling
for a while.
Or even chronically, you know?
Feeling depressed is real.
Yeah.
Depression as a disease, I do not subscribe to. The idea, I believe, that if you feel depressed, something is depressing you, and you should try your best to fix it. You should take control of your life and do your best to fix it. The idea, but they don't say that. They don't talk that. They say depression like it's this magic thing that comes out the sky and it gets in your brain, you're sad no matter what, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you need to only take pills. And I think that's a very bad way to look at the world, and that's a bad idea to subscribe to. And if you start to feel depressed, let's say your girl leaves you and you start to feel depressed, but you believe in the idea of depression, you're now going to start diagnosing yourself as clinically depressed, self-hypnosing yourself into hypnotizing yourself into being clinically depressed. And it's amazing how you can speak things into existence. I cannot become depressed because I don't believe in it.
Do you feel like sport drilled this mentality into you? Because I used to be a competitive swimmer. I was always competing, trying to be the best. And my dad used to compete with radio-controlled models.
Yep.
How about you?
Well, that's it. What is sport? Sport is just watered-down versions of war.
Yeah.
This is what men have always done.
Friendly war.
Completely. We've evolved to be in battle with each other to some regard. And
they wonder why fans get so emotional as well, because they're also at war with the other fans, aren't they?
Completely.
You know, and that's going to kick off at some point.
Exactly. And you look at the entire planet throughout history, there are ideas which are universal. These are not ideas that could have possibly spread or shared because of the distances involved. It was a universal idea for the Mongols and the Chinese to fight each other, and the Aztecs and whoever else to fight each other, and the tribes in Africa to fight each other. The Europeans, the French, and the English were fighting each other. Humans have always done this. It's just like, no, I'm the boss. No, I'm the boss. So, okay, then let's find out who's the boss. And now we live in a world where I think that status is the new form of combat, and the true expression of testosterone is showing you can move the world with money. This is why I do a lot of the things I do. When I show up to a hotel and every single member of staff panics and they're all standing there waiting only for me and no one else is allowed to walk in and all my cars are out front and Mr. Tate, that's war, that's winning. That's what it is, that's the game. And I don't have time to even accept the idea of a reality where I can't create that for myself.
When is enough? Enough.
That is a good question. For money,
everything.
Okay, yeah. So for money, there is a number which I think is enough. I think once you get to, let's say, 20, 25 million, you can have anything you want. Besides stupid shit like yachts, which doesn't even make you happy, and they're just a headache to own. Power is the problem. You have to understand what you're really chasing. And I know for me, it'll never be enough because I know I'm chasing power. Because even during the height of Corona, which educated me how important power is, I knew I can't listen to people. It's not who I am. So if I have to buy a plane to not wear a mask, I will buy a plane. So it depends what you're truly chasing. If you're truly only after money, 20, 25 million, you'll have a very good life. You'll be happy for a very long time. You don't have to live as crazy as me. But if you're after power, then it's never enough. And then you have to sit and be very smart and self-reflective and understand where you're trying to go. And it comes to a point where it becomes detrimental to you. So even me as an individual, I'm sitting here now and analyzing and thinking, if I carry on the trajectory I'm carrying on, they're going to put me in jail because I'm too influential and I'm too dangerous. If I say I can influence an election right now,
That's a huge worry, isn't
It's scary for them. They're like, oh, who's this guy?
Yeah.
And they've tried to get me to sell my soul. I'm not going to give too many stories, but on multiple occasions, they've tried to get me to sign contracts and offer me a bunch of money to shut up and agree to this and agree to that. And I won't do it. So now they're sitting there going, okay, there's this person with massive influence, perhaps the most influential man in the world. We've offered him to sell his soul so we can control him. He won't do it. He can influence things massively. He is a wild card. What do we do about this person? And they sit and they go, okay, well, accuse him of something, put him in jail. And if that doesn't work, then it's like, oops, car crash. That's the end. So I'm now at a position where I'm like, I have to very strongly gauge how far I want to go because Icarus flew too close to the sun.
Yeah.
So it gets scary, right? So you have to be very self-reflective of these things. But yeah, how much is enough? I don't know. I hope I'm going to balance it just right, and I'm going to save the world and awaken people from the Matrix and stay breathing as long as possible. We'll have to see how it goes. But I will say this, because I say it on every single podcast. If they lock me up for some insane bullshit, I didn't do it. And if they say I killed myself, I didn't kill myself either. It's all a fucking lie. And I'm going to say that here now.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come and strike it big.
It's been
really
fantastic,
appreciate it.
mate. Really has.
Thank you very much. If you've enjoyed that, make sure to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. And it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from these two. Laters.
See you later.
Bye.
I'd rather not be in the outro when he does it like that.
Yeah, we need to slightly change it.
Thank you for your time, Andrew. That was really, really good. Thank you.